Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate our favorites in TV and film. I am your host, Xavier, and once again, I'm joined by my fellow Popcorn Watchlist panelists, Anthony, Danny, and Zach. And today, we have the special privilege to go a little prestige this time. Zach, if you want to remind our audience, you selected our movie of the week to watch and discuss. So go ahead, sir. Lead the way. What were you talking about today?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about a small movie that came out, 13, 14 years ago almost at this point.
Like 13 and a half.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
It's another historical piece called The King's Speech, starring Mr. Colin Firth.
He's not knighted yet, right? He's not a sir yet?
I don't think so. So Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. I think is
No,
appropriate.
he just got kinged.
True, yes.
He played checkers. He played checkers.
Nice.
And also starring Jeffrey Rush and Helena Bonham Carter, among other people, but they're the main three in this film.
Yeah, they're incredible in this movie. Like,
what a delightful movie.
A couple of Harry Potters.
If you're Harry Potter people, yeah.
We'll get to a couple of fun pieces of casting there too. But yeah, Zach, thank you for that introduction. Yeah, movie is documents the story, true story of the fact that King George VI, which was Queen Elizabeth's father, actually had a stammer and a speech impediment, and he went through a lot of the official ways to try to have that fixed, but a lot of it was really not so much kind of dealt with as much, because in the end he would only have to go through some royal duties, being the younger brother. You may have to speak a little bit here and there, maybe show your face. It's not that big of a deal, because it's expected that his brother was going to be king, who ended up being Edward. He took the title of Edward. Long story short, stuff happens and he is thrusted into the role of king as the title of King George VI. So now it's to the point where, his worst nightmare is almost like coming true. But what's cool is that his wife, like you said, played by Helena Bonham Carter, very early in the movie, after a opening speech where it's just, going really poorly for him, decides to go outside of the normal channels and recruits a speech therapist by the name of Lionel Logue, played by Jeffrey Rush. And what we get here is the formation of a really strong, not only like therapy sessions, but also the beginnings of a actually trusted, close, and I think you get by the end of the movie like a really trusted friendship between someone who is really trying to work through something and someone who's trying to prove to himself that, like, hey, I can, like, the work that I do actually matters and has helped a lot of people. So when you said that you wanted to talk about this movie, I was delighted, because in the past, I don't know, these 14, 15 years or so, we've had a lot of really great, a lot of really awesome and astounding, like, Best Picture films. But for some reason, like, I'll share something personal, is that this movie kind of really spoke to me, because it was like not only the speech impediment, but like sort of like someone finding your voice, finding your confidence, and kind of coming into yourself and almost believing yourself despite having something working against you. And at the same time, I actually have a family member who is a accredited and master's degree holding speech and language pathologist. So that's really cool to see that, like, when they go through some of the stuff in the beginning of, like, oh, we're gonna have your elocution lessons, and I'm just like, the whole marble bit of like him having to speak with marbles in his mouth. I remember turning to, hope she doesn't get put on blast, but my sister Liz. I looked to her in the theater. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, that stuff happened. Like, it was a dark time back then in the late 20s and 30s. Like, it's just, there was a lot of these things like, oh, what's gonna work.
Well, in the film, the doctor that does it says that this was used to cure what again? What was it called?
It was Themosthenes. It was it's ancient Greek.
Well, yeah, because then Queen Elizabeth, the mother queen,
Queen Mother. Yeah, now it's Queen Mother because
Queen
of Elizabeth. Yeah,
says like in ancient Greece or something.
Yeah, it's like that worked in ancient Greece. Any track since then, and the guy's like. Like you can tell, like in the words of Anthony here, is like that guy's getting like eviscerated and bone sawed like to hell, and the guy's like, oh, I don't know what to do.
And then even before that, he was making him smoke. He's like, this will open up your lungs,
calm you down,
calm your throat,
and give you confidence. It's like they were looking like, what's wrong with you? Fun fact,
was the mentality back then.
Yeah. Fun fact: King George VI actually died of lung cancer. So that's one of those things you're like, oh no, but this movie it's a delight. Like honestly, like that movie felt like to me. It's a feel good story. You have that good ups and downs. It is truly just a delight. It's
and it's a true story.
Yeah, so, it's based on a true story. A lot of the stuff, even like if you go to like the royal website, like a lot, like they'll talk about. They don't really mention a lot of stuff, but they don't. There wasn't any pushback. I was like, oh, it's a fabricated thing. It's like it's known that's a lot of that happened. Just everything, everything comes together in this movie, like the way the movie's shot. Obviously, it's brilliantly acted. You have like all-star powerhouses throughout this entire movie. Yeah, like you have some strong actors here, and even to the disdain of Anthony, Alexander Desplat scores the film extremely well too.
I don't have a problem with him personally.
He does. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't have a problem with him. He makes great music. It's just I think in certain years Hans Zimmer made better music. But like there's been other years that he's won, and I'm like, yeah, that music was great. But
I mean,
Interstellar.
Funny enough, this is the year that we're talking about where he won something.
2010 was
no.
Sorry.
He won in Theory of Everything over Interstellar, I believe.
Sorry. What I meant to say was that Hans Zimmer didn't win something that he clearly probably should have won.
Well, also at the same time,
that's been a lot of times. But
it was Hans. I think it was Hans, and it was also Desplat that lost out to the Social Network.
Yeah,
which that's opinions. I think Soul has a better score than Social Network, but I even think Watchmen the show is a better score than that. But that's a different story. Anyway,
yeah, I love Desplat. I love Desplat.
Desplat, he does great work. But
he did the score for the comeback 2014 Godzilla movie.
That's right. He did.
Did Harry Potter's?
He did some Harry Potter.
The 7 part 1 part 2.
Yeah, but he was just copying John Williams.
Damn.
No, I'm joking.
But he also wrote Lily's theme, which that one is really nice. So I'll take that.
He does good music.
And speaking of Harry Potter, we have some Harry Potter alums, right, Zach?
Mm-hmm. Well, Helena Bonham Carter, of course, as Bellatrix Lestrange.
Yes.
But also the late great Sir Michael Gambon.
That's right, Michael Gambon
as King George V.
I knew, what's funny enough, a fun story about Michael Gambon. I first was introduced to Michael Gambon from the Ali G movie.
Oh, God.
Yes. Dude, Ali G in the house. And I was like, and
wicked.
With the same thing because Martin Freeman's in that too.
Yeah.
Like, this Ali G, man.
That's what I have to see because I know that Sacha Baron Cohen did it was like, I guess, like essentially like an unofficial trilogy where it's Borat, Bruno, and
Ali
this
G.
movie and Ali G. I only saw Borat.
You only saw Borat?
Ali G was first.
Ali G was first. The opening sequence is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, it's because like he and Martin Freeman have this like this like little like
where they're in the car.
Like they're listening to this drum and bass song, and like they're driving down in like the little Mini and just like booyaka booyaka jump with this massive. Anyway, and the point is that like Michael, if I'm not like Michael Gambon plays the prime minister and Charles Dance is the bad guy of the movie. I was like, yo, this movie's great. But anyway, that's how I knew Michael Gambon. I was like, wow, that guy's a very hoity-toity actor. And then then it got to a point of, oh wait, this guy's like, it's not a bit comedy thing. This is a legitimate like, top class actor.
What is this Hoity-toity.
Hoity-toity. It's just someone. It's very top class. You have to have a certain finesse and this I just top the high class almost snooty type of stuff. I'm not saying it was snooty, but that's how I always noticed like
more like Shakespearean.
High end British acting. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michael Gambon played George V, which what we saw of him was like just perfect. Like those scenes with him there,
like the first scene where he's trying to get Albert, otherwise known as George VI, to speak with confidence into the microphone.
Don't be afraid, boy. Like just like speak into the mic. Just do it, and just like. That's not helping. And so if anybody
the stress and the pressure and
have you ever in any situation this is what I think was so relatable to this movie, even if you don't have a speech impediment, stutter, or stammer. If you ever try something and then the people who are supposed to kind of oversee you to instead of helping you through it, it's just kind of why don't you just do it already? Just stop, stop sucking. You're just it's
you're making
crushing.
it worse.
Yeah, you're just making it worse. It's crushing. You think they don't know that they're not afraid. You think that person isn't you've been in that situation where it's you're struggling. It's but it's just someone. They're not. The reinforcement is not helping at all. At the same time, it's hard to. You can't snap back at your father in that situation because your father's the freaking king of England.
Exactly.
That's rough. Yeah, that's really. It's almost the same thing. When you have, it's one. It's hard to tell your parents that because sometimes parents don't get it, and then it's worse when you have that title there. So I'm glad that scene really stuck in with a lot of people. I think from not just the base level, but like you just mentioned, Zach, too, keeping it in the underlying thing too.
Timothy Spall was also in it.
Yeah, another Harry Potter.
Harry Potter character. Yep.
Churchill.
He's Churchill.
Yeah, I don't think they mentioned Churchill until later in the movie.
They mentioned it when they showed him.
When they showed him first.
Really? Okay, because I never caught on.
He's in the Parliament because during that time you had the guy who was before Neville Chamberlain. So that was the guy who ends up later on resigning.
Yeah.
So he that was the guy Churchill was right, and I can't lead a strong government. I hate to do this for you. You just became king. I hate to put you in this position, but I can't do this anymore. And he's like, all right, cool. There you go. He's like, oh, my successor Chamberlain's gonna take over. And they're like, okay, cool.
I know that they tossed around the name too. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that it was Timothy Spall playing Churchill until towards the very end when Albert says Churchill to him. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, to me to me it's interesting because you look at different portrayals of Churchill. It's definitely the physicality from physical standpoint. Timothy Spall is oh, easy, that dude's that's him. Because if you look at Timothy Spall, he has a suit and prosthetics on. Compare him to when he's in I don't know if you've ever seen it, but The Last Samurai. I haven't seen it. No.
Where it's he's in there too, and I'm gonna ignore that. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's more like the Ken Watanabe show. Yeah, it's the Ken Watanabe show.
And then for anyone wondering, Timothy Spall was Wormtail or Peter Pettigrew
in Harry Potter.
In Harry Potter. Minor spoiler. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so then you have
if you watched Hot D, House of
the Dragon.
Eve Best is in this movie.
That is correct. She is. She was the mistress to my boy that's
Guy
right.
Pearce.
She plays Wallace Simpson. No, that's not mistress. That's his wife.
They get
married
married
first.
That's a whole thing.
At first, she was cheating on her.
She was a twice divorcee.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, she's a twice divorcee.
That's very frowned upon in
if her husbands would have been dead, it wouldn't have been too much of an issue. But because they were both alive,
divorced.
So kill them both.
No, because then looks terrible, and then you can't have.
And because that's murder.
It's also murder. That would look terrible. It's also murder.
What murders?
I mean,
He's the best guy around. What murder?
dovetailing off to the side. I mean, if you want to get a little bit of history here,
we can't brush by. Look up the history, but my boy, the Ludacris of movies.
Yeah, we got to talk about
Guy Pearce. Every time Guy Pearce shows up in a movie, the movie automatically elevates. Just like whenever you see a song that's whatever title by whatever artist, but when it says featuring Ludacris, you know that my man Ludacris is gonna have the nastiest verse on the whole song. So every time Ludacris comes up on a song, it always makes the song better, even if it's like a.
Even if it's Justin Bieber's Baby.
Yeah, exactly. Justin Bieber's song is whatever, unless you like Justin Bieber. I don't, not that much. But because that one segment has Ludacris on it, you're like, okay, it's pretty good now.
Even the really god-awful trash tier Fast and Furious ride is made only slightly bearable because Ludacris shows up in the middle of the line telling you about stuff. And you're like, oh, snap. Cool, they got Luda. It's great.
It just goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least that's the highlight.
They would have been better off during the party, whatever bus scene in that ride. Like, they should have just been playing Ludacris songs the whole time. But anyways, that ride's garbage. The back to Guy Pearce. So Guy Pearce, in my opinion, is on that level of whenever he's in a movie, he just elevates the movie. And since this movie was already really good, it's just like, damn, it's even better because Guy Pearce is in it.
It's now ultra top tier. Like, that's what pushed it over the edge.
Like, if Guy Pearce was in the movie longer, this movie would have won 2 Oscars for best movie.
he might have been nominated supporting actor because he does a great job of being a. It's like, yeah, brother, I love you. Also, like, I'm gonna make fun of you to your face every time you have your stammer when you're trying to find your voice and confidence. Like, nah, son, we're gonna throw that in there.
Go watch Memento.
Go watch Lockout.
That movie's great.
The first
except for one scene,
5 minutes of the movie. But yeah, Prince Edward, he does a great job. Guy Pearce playing Prince Edward is an awesome job. You mentioned Eve Best as Wallace Simpson, which this portrayal of Wallace Simpson is definitely somebody who's not so much out of her depth, but it's just I know I'm making a commotion and I don't care, which it's always fun to see in various depictions. But okay, we're talking about more Harry Potter alums. Did we hit them all, Zach?
Maybe, unless there's one that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, because Michael Gambon is Dumbledore.
Yeah,
the second Dumbledore.
It's Michael Gambon, Helena Bonham Carter, Timothy Spall.
I think that's it.
For Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're actually right.
Well, outside of Harry Potter, we got.
And this was, by the way, this movie came out, I think, after Part 1 and Part 2 of Deathly Hallows were filmed.
Yep.
Really? Is that long ago?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Really that long
ago? Yeah, because Part 1
ended that long ago?
Part 1 came out 2010, Part 2 in summer of 2011.
Oh my god.
Yeah, back. Dude. Yeah.
I think Part 1 was like later 2010, November, December or something.
Wow. That's crazy.
So
they finished the whole
13
series in 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
And then Jeffrey Rush, who's
not in Harry Potter.
No,
he was busy doing other movies.
Yeah, prior to that, he was Captain Hector Barbosa.
I thought you were going to say Les Miserables. I was like, hey, good for you, but no.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, all 5 movies.
All 5 movies.
Yeah, all 5. We count the end credits.
Is he in the 4th one?
Yes, he is. He's in the beginning.
Okay.
And then the end credits.
And the end. Yeah, because he steals the boat. He steals the.
Well, because I know he's in the 5th one, but I don't know. I've only seen the 4th one.
He's in the 4th one.
Once or twice.
I like the 4th one because of
the music.
The music, but also the fact that the Spanish that were trailing them the whole time to find the Fountain of Youth just wanted to go there. And spoilers for Part 4, they just wanted to go in there and wreck house because they're like, no one's allowed to live forever, and they just just crash the party. Anyway, yes. So going back to this star-studded cast, we can go off on a tangents about the cast, but the movie I think is. At least in my opinion, I want to know Zach's opinion. Just the way it's structured, from what point of history, how it ends in that certain point of history, how it has this whole arc for both Albert and Lionel, how you felt that was portrayed and how it emotionally resonated with you specifically, since I think it was you and Danny who have not seen it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So then I'll get your opinion, and I would love to hear Danny's too.
Okay, so your question again was my opinion on what part of the
Basically, how
All of it.
the whole thing.
the way the movie's structured between
Well, because
how
there
these
were
two characters grow together, and like,
Yeah.
you know,
because there were a lot of like a few time jumps. I think it started in 1925.
I believe it was
Was the Wembley speech.
yeah,
Mhm.
old Wembley.
That's
Stadium.
where it started.
And then it kind of jumps then to like 1932 or 1934, where the movie kind of like really starts with the Prince Albert going through the speech train, or not the speech training, but like to fix his speech impediment, his stammering and everything, and like the risk of like the height of war from Germany and Hitler's like taking over like the German government and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then of course like the whole movie being about since he's him overcoming his impediment and trying to stammer less and less, would play a key role in the speech in question, the titular speech at the end of the movie, where he would then declare war.
Did you do the thing? No. Well, he doesn't declare war. But he's just saying like, hey.
They're
preparing
preparing for war.
You see, you hear the part when Lionel gets into the palace. They're like, "Oh, the king's speech, sir," and you're just like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, there it is."
I did it both times that I watched the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there it is.
There it is, title. But yeah, like you feel like for it being a historical drama, like just working on somebody's speech impediment, that being the basis of a movie to you obviously was a success because you're like, oh, this movie's great, it's a delight.
Yeah, and one thing I was thinking of too when watching the movie was that the title has two meanings. Obviously, like the literal speech at the end of the movie, and the speeches throughout the movie too. But his actual his
the way the king speaks,
Exactly.
his speech is very, very cool. Yeah. Danny, I know historical biopics have now sort of become more within your realm of viewing because of our little get-togethers here on the Popcorn Watchlist podcast. But what did you think?
I feel like a
overall?
lot of the historical pieces were just recommended by me for the most part.
Yeah, because
I felt like you're going through that backlog.
yeah, because like Anthony and I have seen them most
Which
of them.
one? Which one?
The historical biopics,
Like Gladiator?
Schindler's List,
Well, no, we went through Schindler's
We went
List.
through- yeah.
Saving Private Ryan?
Saving Private Ryan.
No,
No,
Yeah, dude,
no,
we haven't done that on
no,
the podcast.
but
yet.
You probably saw it
Full
first
Metal
one.
Jacket,
Full Metal Jacket.
with Vietnam War.
I mean,
We have talked about Oppenheimer, which is technically
Yeah,
a historical biopic. It's
Another
mostly,
World War II related movie.
mostly based off a book. But yeah,
I've gone through a good
I don't know,
amount,
World
but
War II movies.
I feel like Zach has picked the ones that we both haven't seen, which has worked out because we both gotten to knock them out, and kind of creates a fun discussion because it's us two and against you two who have already seen it.
The oldies.
oh, it hurts.
Your backs.
I'm confused. Oh man, even that scene, like with Michael Gambon, it's like where it's like you can tell he's starting to lose a bit of his mental faculties.
Yeah.
Oh, when
It's
that
like,
started, I was like,
and he's just like, I'm confused. No, how do you feel, sir? I feel terrible. Like just quite miserable.
Bloody dreadful.
I feel bloody dreadful. And then he's like, signing off as like, conferring that, even in his mental state, I'm gonna have Edward be the king, which is kind of like a little weird low move.
Like ready to transfer his power.
Yeah. Even though they told this guy as the freaking head of the Church of England, you can't be consorting with this woman. And he's like, I don't care. I love who I
still
love.
did it anyway.
And he still did it anyway, and then put everything into jeopardy. And he's like, no, screw it, I abdicate. But yeah, Danny, Zach thoroughly enjoyed it. How did you feel about it overall?
I thought it was great. I didn't really know much of the movie, which was good.
Me neither. Yeah.
I didn't watch any trailer or anything, so I just went in blind. And I know you had Xavier had mentioned before that he really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, man.
I know you have brought it up a couple times.
If I have to pick Oscar winners and stuff like that, in terms of if I put in Mount Rushmore, it's my Rushmore films. It's a contender to be up there. Like my personal favorite movies. I'll never not watch this movie. It's just oh cool, you want to watch it? It's not oh I've seen this so many times. No, I'm gonna rewatch this because it's it's great.
It had a little bit of everything too. Like it had some humor in it.
Yeah, unexpected humor.
Yeah, like.
I guess Jeffrey Rush is.
Jeffrey Rush is so good.
I mean,
good.
between Lionel and the King, their back and
Birdie.
forth was pretty.
My House, My Rules.
Pretty funny, yeah. I liked all their scenes together. And
Enough
like
for the bloody
practicing.
shilling, dude. The whole thing he kept talking like, I'll bet you $1. But you don't think, he's like,
And
I
then
know
at
you're
the end,
good
he
for
brought
it.
him the shilling. Here's your shilling.
Yeah, when they come back in like in 1934, it's like, I need to get back. And he's like, I'm doing more of this again. He's like, here's a shilling, by the way. And it's just like, it's got your brother's face on it. He's like, maybe not for long. You're like, I'll get a new one with mine. And like, how funny, like, if we're going to talk about like some favorite moments, how funny was it, the scene where they're going through a therapy session at his house, because it's kind of more official, and the Queen Mother's in there too. She's like, yeah, come on, you boys, you can just hang out. And then like his wife gets in, Lionel's wife gets in there earlier than expected, and he's just having a freak out.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no,
Because the
like,
wife didn't know.
yeah, it's like,
Well, he wasn't supposed to tell her.
Yeah.
yeah, he never told her who his patient was.
She got home earlier than he anticipated.
Yeah, he
From
never
playing
told
bridge.
her. And he would always talk about Albert as a patient. It's like, I'm having a typical patient. He's not believing in himself. I think he can do it. And it's like, well, maybe
He's gonna be
you
great one
pushed.
day.
Yeah, it's like maybe you pushed him a little too hard in this way. And he's like, oh,
Like
maybe
apologize and yeah.
And then that's when they came back. He's like, oh, I went this the wrong way. It's like, I see what you're doing, so let's try this again. And then that's when they're having some breakthroughs. They're going through some stuff, getting through with more of the mechanics, but then his psychological trauma by his being Albert's to get over it. His wife gets in and he immediately is like freaking out. It's just like, oh no, she can't know what's going on. He's like, you're acting like a coward, man. He's like, I am, yeah. I forgot the exact line he says. He said something like, it's like, oh man, he's like, you're really like acting like absolutely, like there's no way, like he's just owning up to it with his like, crass, not crass, but like almost like direct Australianness as opposed to his, against someone who's like just pure British. And what's interesting, I think Jeffrey Rush is Australian.
He is.
So if what makes the whole like, which makes it almost perfect casting, like that was of everything. Like
even though the Australian accent that we know of today wasn't really prominent, it sounded more like he sounded more British than Australian.
Yeah, because he had assimilated and lived there for quite a bit.
Yeah.
And like Lionel Lowe came from like a middle class family. Again, he said his dad was a brewer, and then he came over here because
There's
I
always
want to
free beer.
act. Yeah, there's always free beer. Oh man. So yeah, that scene was great, and then like that scene where his wife meets the Queen Mother. How she explains like the quick rules of royal etiquette. Like
first it'll be your Majesty.
First is your Majesty, and then ma'am like ham, not mom like palm. I was like, I remember that, and like that scene to me is like anytime people talk about royal stuff, it's like I know that because of King's Speech. Like I know what you're supposed to do, and that's like she remembered like, oh my god, then because she walked in, she's like, wait, and she's like. And then she goes into like Helena Bonham Carter, just spot on, like knows it. Matter of fact, it's almost like she had to like draw from every time people recognize her from Harry Potter fame. It's like, wait, I got this, and it's like she turns on this is how you deal with celebrity in a sense, and then she like curtsies, and then Lionel opens the door, and then you have the King George right there. She's like, oh, your Royal Majesty. It's just like almost like. Oh snap! This is what you've been doing with like, all these years.
You want to have dinner?
Yeah, and like politely, like thank you, but I had a previous engagement, which obviously they're royals; they're gonna have a previous engagement.
Yeah.
And she does that. We're like, kind of eyebrow thing, like,
yeah,
when
like
she says it too.
previous engagement. Like, yeah, we know, but I had to be polite and ask. But there's a lot of that in this the British society and everything.
While we're going through favorite moments, the ones that I like most was the first time he meets with Lionel, and you get like he's doubting it, of course, obviously, and just kind of like going against it.
Call me Lionel. It's like, okay, doctor. I love how that came back.
And then we get the like him with the headphones, listening to the music and reading off the book. And then, he storms out, but then he listens to it after and he hears himself like speaking normally.
Yeah.
What was he reading again? Was it Hamlet?
No, To Be or Not to Be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Hamlet.
It is Hamlet, yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool scene.
I liked the scene before that, or when they first started interacting in their session, and he's talking about the smoking. He's like, he's like, no, don't. He's like, I don't want you smoking in my house, and he's like,
house, my rules.
and he's like, and it's bad for you. He's like, I believe those things will kill you. He's like, all my physicians say it's good for the throat, and he's like and then he's like, no, those things are gonna kill you. And he's like, but they're all knighted. And he's like, well, in that case,
no, he's like,
they just say in that case, but he's like, well, then it must be true then.
He says what he said. No, what he says exactly is
makes it official.
Yeah.
But what makes it funnier is that he goes, oh, but he's like, yeah, all my doctors do that. Like, well, they're idiots. He's like, yeah, but they're knighted. He's like, well, I guess it makes it official. Like the wit was so natural. Like it was just. Like I love that. Nothing felt like forced. Like it was like something naturally someone would say, like, well, then yeah, they're officially morons because they're telling you smoking is good for your lungs. Like no, and then like it's that whole bit and the whole idea of just like your methods I've heard are unorthodox, but this person like his wife referred him, but like Zach said, like some of the like what's nice is that the time jumps happen, but they don't explicitly tell you like this is the year. Like someone will write into like a document or like they'll watch something and the year will be said in that thing that they're viewing or that's there. Like
it was always like just on the screen like
sometimes
this place
sometimes,
but
like,
there's other times that they don't tell you the year, but they kind of tell you
like the date of the date of Edward's abdication. Like it tells you it's in December of 1936, and it tells
December
you like
12th or something.
Yeah, like 1935 when George V died. Like you had it was something like that, and then it jumps to 1939, and then hey, it's 1939 because everybody's talking about Germany invading Poland.
September 3rd, because that was 2 days after the invasion.
September 3rd, correct. So, like those bits of jumps happen, and it's cool because then you also see like the Lionel's sons get older, especially when they talk about the scene where it's just like the reason why I was able to. I guess it was great for me to come to because I was there at Wembley that day at that speech, and my son asked you, like, do you think you could help that man?
Yeah,
you help that poor man, and then. I loved that despite the fact that Albert when he's about to be going through the preparations for the coronation at Westminster Abbey, like he's just having like, oh, we did research, you're not really a doctor, you don't have accreditation. He's like, what I have experience is from the war and that generation, the Great War, like World War I, especially in Australia, like a lot of the Australian troops fought in Tripoli, and there's a lot of that he talked about, like in the movie, like what he dealt with, and like a lot of things I learned was learning through experiences. Like I don't need a degree for that. Like I know that this stuff works, and like just as you trusted me, like I've trusted you trusted me with this stuff. I need you to trust me that this is, like.
And he told Birdie, like I'm not a doctor, and there are no letters or there's no
on my door. There are no letters after my name. I've not misrepresented myself at all. And like that was like
he never called himself.
Yeah, and that was him being
okay. Yeah, that was the problem. Thinking of like I'm not a doctor. You called me that.
Well, no, like even like Bertie, Albert says that he's just like, oh, I always called you doctor, and that's why. And you always said call you Lionel, and that's why. And so he's like, I'm freaking out because I put my trust in you, and these people are telling me this. And it's like, well, I was like him basically in a very polite way, and like they're wrong. Like it's about what you need right now. Like. Come to you, especially like you have the Archduke Canterbury played by Derek Jacobi. Like a lot of these times, like kind of like inserting himself into certain situations. Like, oh no, you need to. Why is this guy here? You need to bring me the official guys. And he's like, no, the official guys are garbage. Like, get them away from me. And then like they get to the preparations again, and that's when you have what my favorite scene is like what I feel is like what was Colin Firth's like Oscar winning scene was him and Lionel there, and Lionel's like. On the throne, basically on the throne. That was on the touching the stone, the throne, and
it's just a chair.
He's like, it's a chair. People,
he's like, get out of here, get out.
He's like, people wrote stuff on here. Like this is nothing. Like this doesn't.
They call the names.
Yeah, it's like they have this. It's like, why do you have to get up a bloody chair? Because I bloody chair. Like, and that's where he's like, not because he's angry, because it's like having the pride in himself, and he's just like, it's like, why should I have to listen to you? He's like, because I have a voice. Like he's like, yeah, you do have a voice. Like that was like that part gets me every time. It's just like he has that conviction.
Well, he wanted him to get that out, like to say that.
That was the whole point. Like he was inciting him to get feel it from here. Like part of the stammer, yeah, it's physiological, but it's a lot of it's mental too. And like that was his breakthrough moment. It was like, look, man, like. You have to stand up for yourself. And that was when they're like, oh yeah, I want Mr. Loeb here. It's like, but your family's there.
He's like, exactly.
In the king's
Yeah.
box. Yeah.
Exactly, and they're in the king's box. It's like that's unorthodox. He's like, I don't think you should do that. I'm here to advise you.
It's reserved for like
Yeah,
a royal
royalty.
family and like advisors or something, and then and he says and that's precisely why I want him there.
Yeah, he's like, that's why I need him. That's why I want him there. He's like, yeah, but I'm supposed to be in charge of putting the head on the crown. And he's like, well, respectfully, it's my head. And I was like, damn, there we go. Go get it, Albert. Yes. And so and then the best part is when they go back because the Archduke is going to curate the video to then show to the family.
Oh, he said he was going to edit the...
Yeah, and so they're showing the final cut to the family. And what's funny is the daughters, which are, Elizabeth and Margaret, they kind of point out, like, look, you messed up on giving him the crown. And he's like, but, like a scrub. He's like, yeah, but someone hid the inseam. I was like, shut up. You're a scrub. Get out of here. Like, that was the best. I love that. It's just like he was giving him such a hard time for Lionel. It's like, oh, you screwed up your job a little bit.
And they were using actual footage. And
yeah.
they did a good job of making sure not to show the actual Albert.
Yes.
Covering his head with the arm of the Archbishop.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
And not showing anything.
I liked seeing some of that. And then what was cool is like you saw it after, like, all right, cool, we don't need to see anymore. But then they saw the film reel from Germany.
Yeah.
And, they ask, the daughters ask King George, like, what was he saying? It's like, I don't know, but he's saying it very well. Like, as almost like, damn, like, that's the kind of, like, people are listening to him. As a kind of a messed up, mirror of just, like, this is what you could be in terms of, like, if you could speak well.
Yeah.
So, the movie takes place over many years with a lot of these things. And so it's a process.
Yeah, I think it was like a total of, like, almost, like, 15 years.
14. It starts in 25, ends in 39.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, I was thinking 24. Yeah.
Maybe, a little over 14, or maybe 13. I don't know when the Wembley thing was.
13 and a half.
The half.
And then one of my other favorite parts, too, was, I think it was, like, maybe the second or third session that they had, where, like, the whole swearing and... Like, obviously, you didn't stammer when
swearing and singing through the stuff, like the mechanics
singing.
of it.
Well, the singing came later when he came like at night after his father had died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
have you tried singing
Sing Swanee River,
or
Camptown Races?
You're barking up the wrong tree now.
Yeah, I love that. That was really fun and he didn't stammer there, and you could see Lionel like, okay, like. It is really interesting seeing someone so confident in their work, so that when, like, someone like me, for example, if I hit a wall like that where someone's like, yo, you're about to cross a line, like, I'd freak out. And Lionel's like, all right, cool. Like he was so confident. It's like, no, like, you need to be challenged in this way, like, in order for you to think and, help you overcome the things you need to overcome.
Well, funny enough, because the part where the scene where he's like asking him to, like, oh, you should try singing what you want to say. That was one of the things that I was thinking about before, like when as the movie was progressing, because I had a bit of a stutter when I was in was it middle school maybe, and it was like pretty obvious that I had like the stutter, and singing did help.
Wow.
With doing it.
What did you sing?
Just like whenever I would listen to music, like just singing along with it, then it helped with like getting rid of that stutter over a few years.
Look at that.
So I was like, damn, I resonate with that.
Linkin Park.
Yeah, that really hit you in the core. Like,
because I was like at some point, like, I think maybe like 20 minutes earlier, I'm like, man, like, I wonder if they're gonna maybe talk about singing, because I know that helped me, and that's usually like a good way to get rid of a stutter is just by singing too, because when you're singing, the words to something, you don't have to think about the lyrics, you just know the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
You just sing it.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to stutter.
It's very true. My sister was telling me something similar about that, where like how the mind to mechanic the mind connects to that from almost like like a muscle memory thing.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It's able to come through and not have to have any type of the block on it, whether that type of block.
Well, that's also kind of like how that went with that scene where he had the headphones on and he couldn't. He wasn't hearing himself really. Like,
yeah, he was blocking himself out.
He was busy listening to the music, but while reading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
because the point of that was he asked like a few minutes earlier, when you're thinking to yourself, when you're talking to yourself, do you stammer?
Yeah,
He's like,
he
oh,
said
of
no.
course
He's
not.
like, of course not. You're like, well, there you go. So, and then they're like, oh, try this out. It's the next thing from America. And you're like, cool. Like, this is fun. Like, being able to do something. And what's funny is that I think King George VI was the first king to actually visit the U.S. Historically speaking. So that's a weird little connection. I also liked that. What was the one part?
Singing.
Where
he's
he's
singing.
just swearing and he's like,
Yes, that
shit,
part's
shit,
great.
tits.
Yeah, it's like that part is hilarious. Like, he's going through all these just the vulgar stuff, and he goes and like he just ends it with and.
It started
and
with-
he's like tits. Like
He started saying just like bloody and bugger, bloody bugger.
yeah, and
He's
then
like, come on,
it
you
gets
can do
worse.
better than
Yeah,
that.
it's just like that sounds like a 4-year-old at a private school. Like, come on, kid. Like, let it loose.
Do you know the F word?
Yeah.
Fornication.
Fornication. Yeah.
He's like, oh, come on, you know.
And what's great too is that like Colin Firth nails a lot of like the royal British, where it's like where a lot of like the R's sound kind of a little bit like W's a little bit, and like which like kind of leans into some of the speech impediment. but
Okay,
also
yeah,
some
because
of that-
I figured that was more of the of the impediment part and not the actual.
But if you ever hear Queen Elizabeth speak, there's a very little bit of a trail of that too. So it's almost like it's just because it's got to be a certain way to speak.
the Queen's English is what they call it.
Yeah, the King's English.
Like very
yeah.
very proper,
Mm-hmm.
like British. Everything is enunciated. The
Yeah.
R's are pronounced. Everything.
What was interesting to me too is that when they brought in Prince Edward's first like actual introduction, he's just like coming out of a plane. You're like, oh, this guy's like too cool for school. What the heck? And like they get to Balmoral, which is supposed to be like a nice stature, like up the Scottish palace of the royal family, and like they get in there and it's just basically like it's like a early 30s like post roaring 20s party, and he's just like, dude, what the heck? I mean, that's when Wallace is like, hey everybody, and just like it's Queen Mother's Queen, she was, or soon to be queen. She's like, no, I was invited by the king, so don't talk to me. Like that was like the weird polite way of saying like, get out of my face, scrub. Like that was something else. And like that whole sequence, that whole scene is just like the whole like, oh, this is what we're gonna be expecting. Like this is definitely not decorum or anything at all. But you got to see a bit of the Guy Pearce range. It's just like, I can be a party, I can be a loving brother, I can be a total a-hole. Like all in like 1 or 2 different scenes. Anthony, any other bits that you remember that you can pull up that you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're leaving it for the last one. The speech at the end.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the part where he's with his Lionel's with his sons and like he's recreating I think the Tempest, and he's playing Caliban, and he's like, here's a quiz, and then the kid's like, Caliban, he's like, how do you know?
Lucky guess.
He's like lucky guess. It's like, no, not a lucky guess. And that's the whole. And this shows the fact that Lionel wants to be like an amateur actor, and then he goes try out for an amateur acting club, and they just rag on him for being Australian. That was kind of messed up. And then like the point where they have that little falling, by they I mean Lionel and Albert have the falling out, where he's like, oh, you're just some jackaroo from the colonies.
Who's the son of a brewer?
Son of a brewer. You're like, you can't talk to me that way. And he's just like, oh, like, and he wasn't even like defending himself. He's just like, ouch, like that just. That's where like maybe that's where the lines were crossed there too, and the other way. But that ended up helping cement being a foundation for them to make up, and then that's when he gets the coronation, all that cool stuff. But yes, we got to talk about the way Lionel helps King George through that that first wartime commencement speech.
Yeah, it's I like that it was essentially just the king and Lionel in a room by themselves. They had it, covered, soundproofed, with the window open. I don't know if that was on purpose to make it more like the sessions that he would have with him, because he would always have the window open, or if they wanted to do that for some form of, to make the sound better from the microphone. I don't know, but I like that little touch. But yeah, I mean, just that it's like the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And practicing the speech too,
Yeah.
where
Oh man.
Where then you have 40 minutes to I think it starts with you have a few hours, and then it's okay, now you have an hour, now you have like 30 minutes, and then it's
2
like
minutes.
you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
When the light starts blinking, you have like 5 seconds.
It's gonna blink 4 times, and he said that they're gonna keep it off so that it's not distracting.
The evil eye is not looking at you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But him, like, both of them being in that one room practicing the speech, and he's doing a combination of saying the speech and throwing in like swear words, and then singing parts
Like in the middle of it.
Yeah. He's like, why is it always peas? And I love it how like there's like when there's with various speech impediments, there's always one consonant that gets to people, and for him, he's like, it's peas. Like it's always peas. Like
For people.
Yeah. He's like trying to try to bounce into it.
Say up people.
Up people, and he does it in the speech, just up people. So it's like it's cool. Like I think there's if you go in, it's easily looked up online now. You can hear the actual speech.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm sure it was recorded.
He does. I believe he does the same thing. He does
Same
people,
cadence, the same pauses, probably the same.
just without the Alexandra
highs and
Desplat
lows.
score in the background.
No, you have to have that score.
But that score or that song that played during that part, was that a Desplat original, or was that just like a public domain music from?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure that was a piece from Mozart, if I'm not mistaken. It sounded like a Mozart piece.
Yeah, I don't think that's
that. Like,
The
there were a
original.
few pieces in there.
Yes, you guys are right. I sit corrected. It is but not Mozart. It is Beethoven's Symphony Number 7.
I've definitely heard it in other
Number what?
Yeah, it's Symphony Number 7.
Number 7. Okay, yeah. So that Beethoven. It wasn't Desplat. There were a couple in there that were not Desplat. It was like from like a classical composer.
Yeah,
that were thrown in there.
But you kind of have to.
But that symphony is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was used very, very wisely.
Yeah,
and that scene brings the whole movie together. It's like that's the reason for the title.
And what's nice too is that like during all that, Lionel's there with him. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna coach you through it." Just like
and at the end, like right before like it's counting down, he's like, "Just act like we're in session. You're talking to me." He's like, "Just say the speech to me."
It's just us.
And then the whole time, like he's not.
To me.
He's pantomiming. Like he's not speaking to him, but he's pantomiming. Like because when he sees that he's kind of like stopping, he's like. He's pantomiming like the curse words, and he starts like conducting as if he's singing, and then like rocking side to side, like doing the movements that they practice. So like he's doing all the things and showing him all the things that they practice during their sessions, while Colin Firth is like trying like to read what he's supposed to be reading.
The culmination of everything.
Well, so I watched this movie twice. When I watched it last night, which was my second time, I was watching it on my TV. And I had AirPods Maxes, so I put noise cancellation. I turned it on.
Fancy.
I turned it on during that scene specifically because I'm like, okay, this is like a really intense moment. And dude, it actually was
goosebumps.
It sounded much better.
Yeah, I bet.
With the noise because I had the noise cancellation on, so I can hear in case like my mom was calling me for any reason or whatever.
She could wait.
She could wait. She wait 10 minutes. So I put the noise cancellation on. I'm like, wow, like this gives me chills just sitting here. Noise cancellation, no other sound is like interrupting.
How it was meant to be heard.
Oh my god, dude, it was. It sounded so good.
Yeah,
and like you hear like the deep like very smooth timbre of Jeffrey Rush's voice when he's speaking like it's just us. And I'm like, God, this sounds amazing.
Yeah. And what's great too is that after the speech, like you're seeing in the control room, you're seeing people around the world listening, like because it's the whole British Empire. So like you have everywhere like listening to this. And it's like okay, like they're not like freaked out. They're actually like, hey, I'm listening to what you're saying. Like,
they even show Guy Pearce listening to it. Like the previous
in
king
in his
brother,
home in like probably
his
Italy
wife,
or Monaco or something. He was somewhere. It looked like.
But it actually seemed like the one, I guess, like couple seconds that they showed, it was like. It kind of seemed like he was like proud of like the speech that he was listening to. So
he's like, man,
really
he's
cool.
doing it now. Well, look at that. Like he's rising up.
When the last time you essentially see him was like at that party when he pretty much was like belittling the crap out of his younger brother.
Yeah, that felt horrible to watch. He was like, I was like, damn, come on, dude. Like that's messed up. But people hurt people basically. And then what's the best part of that too is at the end of everything, he gets out and just like, congratulations, Your Majesty, congratulations. Everybody's like, man, that was good.
Everyone's
like
clapping.
People outside clapping.
Outside clapping. He's like, wow. And then you could see him just like, I think I can do this. Like this can be a way to do it. And I don't have to fear the wireless. Like
Well, like just before he leaves the room, and he talks to Jeffrey Rush, and Jeffrey Rush is like, "You still stumbled on the W's." That was a great line. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "They're like what, like 3 times?" He's like,
yeah.
"I have to make them know that it was me." Like he's like, as if he did it on purpose.
yeah, he's like, I had to drop a few to let them know it was me. And I was like, that see, the fun little comedy. Like that was like again, it's a little comedic touch to a good, heartwarming and inspiring moment. Like that helps it cement it even better. Great writing, like great screenplay.
And it was just like once he finished the speech, it was just like the new man. Like he was a new man. You could see like just like
I mean,
there's like
he
the good
walked out
act,
of the
like,
room like he just had sex.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah, you could see the confidence in him. He was even every person that he was saying like thank you, like he didn't stammer once. He was just walking, saying hi, how you doing, thank you, and like, and then he went to his wife and his kids. Like no stammers at all. Like, so it was like
because he stammered going into it, talking like greeting Churchill and the other guys.
Yeah. So it was like great acting. It was pretty much like the whole movie, like the whole weight of like the nation of his people was like lifted off his shoulders by him, kind of like fighting his demons and just like let it go from that.
And like the weird waving too. Yeah. They're like,
and then the final something like photo op and the hey, let's greet the general public and the subjects, the British subject outside, and everybody's like, yeah, like that's awesome, like we're inspired, like we have to go to war, but we're gonna do this, and your speech. Imagine cause it's like, hey, we're getting ready for another war in some people's generation and lifetime, and imagine if that speech was botched or really bad, like that could have set the tone kind of poorly for the general populace. So the fact that they did that and it was enough to it added to inspiring. It was a really great thing. And I know even because of that, during the war, they never left Buckingham Palace. And that was even during, the Battle of Britain with all the attempted bombings within London. And so imagine like, Buckingham Palace, we're going to try to bomb it. And it's like, no, we're going to stay here. Like, and Buckingham Palace, I think got hit by some stuff, like not majorly, but it was still like hit. And that was a big confidence boost and a morale boost for the people of Britain when like, hey, our king's standing by us, like going through that and delivering speeches like that. So imagine could have been a different situation if it not gone that way. So yeah, man, I'm really happy you guys liked it. Like it's an Oscar winner for a reason. Like it's
Jeffrey Rush was an executive producer, I believe, on the film.
Nice.
Yeah,
and I know he got nominated for supporting. I'm not sure if he won though.
He wasn't executive.
He did not win because that was the year I think Django came out. Was it Django or was it something where he lost to Christoph Inglourious Basterds? I think that year and Christoph Waltz.
Yeah. Not gonna be Christoph Waltz.
Yeah. It was. I think it was the Christoph Waltz year.
If it was for Inglourious Basterds, then.
Yeah.
He lost to a Nazi, which is weird.
No.
Hans Landa, man, that movie.
What a character.
Yeah, what a character.
Well, on to the rating then.
Yeah.
You want to start with me?
Are you gonna start with
man?
Let's start with
It's your speech. I mean, your movie.
Your pick, man. I want to know what you think.
There's a grave hour. I give this movie a 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
I give it a 10 out of 10 easy.
He's like, it's a perfect
super
movie.
hard 10 out of 10.
So if this movie came out in the 80s, what would you have rated it?
10 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
I know it.
He's like, this is a perfect film. This is a perfect film.
Nah, definitely 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah. Everybody is playing out of 10 in this movie. Like I'll give my rating. Yeah, like it's a 10 out of 10 film for me too. Like from an emotional viewership and also from like an objective trying to critique the film. Like everybody is on point. Even the kid actors are on point. Like the way the scenes are shot. That there are no like funny, goofy camera angles. I think it's just a perfect film.
Well, one thing that I forgot to mention earlier was that there were a few scenes that reminded me so much of a Wes Anderson film.
Oh my god! Of course, like when they're moving out of their house to go to
everything
Buckingham.
was so
that weird like top down shot that gave me Wes Anderson vibes. There were a few shots in the beginning of the movie, like when the radio announcer was going to present the king or present Prince Albert to make the speech at Wembley. a lot of those scenes there with like the microphone and like the student and everything, it reminded me of Wes Anderson.
He's like, it's
with
too
the music, with the music too.
Because it's this Alexander Desplat. But duh, like
He went for
Grand Budapest.
the hotel.
Perfect.
Yeah. Like the
Deserved.
I agree.
I agree with that one.
Didn't go up against. I mean, maybe he did.
I think it actually did go up against Interstellar that year.
Was it that year?
Yeah, that was that
Yeah.
year.
They were both 2014 movies.
Yeah, it was well deserved, but I think Interstellar.
Well deserved, but shouldn't have won.
It's like the contradiction. We understand that living contradiction. Don't worry about it. Yeah, perfect film for me. It's again, it's one of those where like, you know, if you don't like historical biopics or anything like that, like this will help you get into those kind of movies because it's not super long. It is great from an emotional piece.
It's a solid 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like
exactly 2 hours.
Like exactly 2 hours.
It's like an hour and 19, or sorry, 119.
Hour and 18.
Hour and 18.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What? 2 hours and 18?
No,
Sorry,
118 minutes.
158.
Yeah.
No, 100. 1,000. Oh, sorry. An hour and 58 minutes. 118. Yes.
Regardless, there's credits, so that means the
Matt.
movie's probably like an hour 50.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, like an hour 55, I think.
It was a solid runtime
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, very very good runtime.
Good pacing.
Yeah, it's not boring. I mean, someone who's maybe like only likes action movies, even if they watch this movie, I don't think they will be like, "Oh, it's too boring," because I think it's gripping and entertaining enough that they'll probably enjoy the talking of the movie. Because the movie's called The King's Speech, so you would assume there's going to be talking in it.
I assumed it was going to be a very serious movie. I wasn't expecting any humor. I was thinking something along the lines of something close to like a Schindler's List kind of thing, like very serious, like not a lot of funniness to it, like no humor, nothing.
You're like, wait a minute, Jeffrey Rush is a riot.
It was just good humor. Like,
and it's like, I want to say like wholesome humor in a sense.
Yeah,
it was.
Like,
Because even when they were preparing for the coronation, and he's saying like, "Oh, I want to go up to the banister so that your nanny can hear," or something about like your nanny.
reach the banister so your nanny can hear. It's like,
And he kind of like smirks like.
yeah, he's like, oh, that one? Okay, yeah. He's like, you all I gotta say is 4 responses. You got this. It's only 4 responses. Like, it's easy. You know, like even though it's and he's
Louder.
Like, yeah, he's like even not the one nanny that liked Edward above me by far. So I like there's like the other nanny was cool. Like, but yeah, like, and you find out a little more about him. So yeah, Danny.
yeah, I'll also give it a 10, and this is back-to-back 10s for me.
That's right. Yeah,
With Die Hard.
you're like Die Hard's perfect
Totally
10.
different movies, but both excellent in their own way.
Yeah. No, this movie's just too damn good. I think it goes without saying, but you know, we gotta get it on the record, Anthony.
I'm not gonna give it a 10, but it's a excellent movie. Definitely deserves the Oscar for best movie that year. But strong 9, very strong 9 for me. Yeah, very good movie. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I think if you watch this movie, really enjoyed it. I think it's a great launch point to get into The Crown on Netflix. So if you want to do some recommended watching, I think what's also really impactful is if you go and watch 1917, another Oscar-nominated film for Best Picture. That it gives you an idea of just how rough and really impactful the First World War was. And so a lot of things that Lionel mentions when he brings up his upbringing on how he learned his speech therapy, it's like, you know, he didn't go to school for this. It was, you know, everybody coming back to cell shock, and I've had to find a way to help folks out. And understanding some of that, I think you'll get from that movie. Also, that movie's an incredible film in its own right. And I think since we see a little bit of Winston Churchill here, just before he becomes prime minister during World War II, you get to watch Gary Oldman win his Oscar for Best Actor in The Darkest Hour. It's just called Darkest Hour. But yeah, that's Gary Oldman as Churchill, which is like almost unrecognizable. And he, again, stellar job of understanding more of Britain during the Blitz, during the Battle of London, or Battle of Britain, sorry. And, you know, just more of on that like 30s, 40s World War style, you know, biopics, if you guys want to see more of that. Obviously different tones, but recommended reading, especially, or recommended watching, I should say, especially like the season 1 of The Crown, because season 1 of The Crown has Jared Hess playing King George VI. So it's pretty cool. And also Jared Hess is a badass actor. Like, I watch practically anything that guy's in.
And then another Colin Firth movie that I enjoyed a lot also was Kingsman, of course.
Yes.
That's right. Yes. He's like, yeah, Kingsman. And he was supposed to be the voice of Paddington. But then they switched it out with Ben Whishaw. And with that is our recap and impressions on The King's Speech. Again, Zach, thank you so much for the recommendation. This movie's incredible.
I'm glad I picked it.
I'll always have... I'll always jump with any excuse to rewatch this movie. So far...
After watching it, I will find a lot of excuses to jump into this movie.
And what's really nice, too, is that the movie currently can be found on Max. But if you can find it physically, buy it. It's really good. I think I still own it on DVD. I need to update my collection to get a 4K Blu-ray, super zabby masterpiece version of it.
And then one thing that we didn't get to talk about earlier too was the budget for this movie, because I was really surprised when I saw the movie was made on a budget of $15 million.
15? Wow.
15, and it made over $400 million.
What? 400? How much? 420 something?
I don't know, Danny.
You
had it pulled up.
No
there,
way.
right?
Like,
It was 427.
427.
That's crazy.
Like, I know the movie had a big Oscar push. Again, I saw the movie in theaters with my sister. I think it might have been during like the re-release of the run or something like that. I have to go back and ask her because it's been such a long time. But that blows my mind that it made, like, at that point, comic book movie money.
And I think also, like, so they re-released it earlier in the year because, the Oscars are usually in March. And I think after it won, they just left it in theaters so that people will now go see the movie that won best of the year. And so it kind of was in theaters for like almost 4 months or something like that. So yeah, if you do that and then your movie gets a lot of recognition, then it make you big bucks. So yeah, it's a big return on a movie that has no pre-existing IP. It's a historical biopic, and yeah, that's a big check for this type of movie.
It's a huge mamma jamma.
Domestically, it made 138 million.
So, like,
nice.
In America, it made 138. Look at that.
And then
can we assume
worldwide,
that it made a lot of money in like
UK?
London? Yeah,
I'm sure that was probably the major market. That's crazy.
That is out of hand.
And it's a quote unquote small movie. Like, it's not like that we were saying. It's not like
it's a small prestige piece. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to only pay the return on just 15 million.
Yeah, it's a big return.
That's crazy. That's like horror movie numbers.
Yeah, and it's not like a Marvel movie where you say, "Oh, well, they also spent $100 million on advertising." It's like, no. I'm sure they spent $5 million on advertising.
Yeah, they didn't spend much on advertising on this.
Not at all. And then Tom Hooper went on to make the wonderful movie known as Cats. Sorry, I had to bring it.
I mean, he made Les Miserables, which
was great. Yep, that had another Australian guy, Russell Crowe, and another Australian guy, Hugh Jackman. But yeah, that was really cool. That's a whole nother topic if you ever want to get into that.
Cats, nice movie.
Yeah, and then most recent one Tom Hooper did was Cats. So hope they can't all be hits, right? Everybody has to have
a bad day at the office.
A bad day at the office, basically,
as they say.
But yeah. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I had a major delight of talking about this film. I'm so glad that you two specifically enjoyed it, watching it for the first time. And speaking of enjoying what we watched, next week's episode is going to be our 2023 rundown. I know we're going to have a lot of movies I think that will be in common, and we might have some that are different. I'm looking forward to hearing the differences. We promise not to get too wild in the debate, but I think it's still going to be a fun one overall. So stay tuned for that. And we ask once again, if you're enjoying this style, if you're enjoying our format, everything that we're talking about, give us a like and subscribe on your platform of choice that you're listening to, and keep up the engagement. Reach out to us again on our social media pages. So you can find us on all the big stuff, which is X, Threads, Instagram, Danny's also posting up our fun like weekly guess the movie based off of emojis that we love to do. And if you guys have other suggestions on things that maybe you want to see in terms of recommendations, shoot them out there, and we'll do our best to bring them up. Okay. So once again, everybody, thank you, and until next time,
Later.
See ya.
Bye.
our peoples.